Hey folks, what's going on? It's Davin from Smart Simple Fit. Today, I'm going to be giving you a quick overview on the two free programs that were made generously by Protein Man for you, my audience, my viewers, for you guys to use to get absolutely jacked, juicy, and stacked using mostly calisthenic exercises. Now, one of these programs is focusing almost entirely on ring exercises and true bodyweight exercises, whereas one of them is more of a hybrid program where there's a combination of barbell exercises, a little bit of machines. Okay, so you're going to be using some weight as well. There's opportunities, at least in the program, for weighted calisthenics variations. So these are two very solid programs using, I would say, a modified upper lower split. We'll get into that more in a second. But if you want to have access to these programs, click the link in the description. That's going to take you to Protein Man's link tree. Okay, and once you get there, you're going to click on the second link from the top that says Smart Simple Fit Rings Program Pack. That's the Smart Simple Fit Rings Program Pack. That's what you're going to click on. Awesome. So once you do that, it's going to take you to the file that has both programs in the same file. You can download it for yourself. Now let's dive right into it. So the first of the two is called the Avatar program with rings and weights, right? This is the hybrid program. So basically, you have 4 different types of training days in this Avatar program. You've got the fire day, the water day, the air day, and the earth day. And basically, this is like having 2 different leg days styles where they're very similar, but they shift emphasis from squat versus hip hinge. The fire day is the upper day, and the air day is the arm day. So to start it off, the upper day is really emphasizing the chest, shoulders, and back. And then, of course, on the air day, the arm day, that's where you're going to get more focus on the biceps and the triceps. So on the upper day, we've got the barbell bench press / ring dips / overhead press. Then you've got some calf raises and face pulls. You're going to do 3 sets of each. Then there's another superset with pull-ups or chest to bar pull-ups and some weighted ring push-ups or dips. And then, of course, there's a third superset where you've got some more options to do, possibly more pull-ups, possibly more bodyweight ring push-ups, or chest flies with the rings, calf raises, and then there's another option within that third superset where you could do some hammer curls, reverse curls, pinwheel curls, barbell curls, etc. The point is, there's a lot of curl exercises that you can choose from and some tricep exercises you can choose from. The volume is fairly moderate on all these exercises, ranging from like 2 to 4 to 3 sets. Some of them, the volume prescription is a little bit higher than that, but I think overall, despite the very large exercise selection that's on this day, because the volume is fairly moderate, I think you'll find you'll be able to recover from these workouts just fine. The principle for the reps here is a lot of AMRAPs, right? So just doing as many reps as possible. That's always a solid way to ensure progression. In addition to that, some rep ranges are given. I think rep ranges are quite useful, and it seems to me that Protein Man's goal here is to treat rep ranges as a progression window, meaning that he wants you to go from doing roughly 8 reps up to roughly 12 reps. And then once you hit the end of that rep range, that creates the opportunity to apply some weight. That's an excellent way to ensure progression. Now let's move on to the next one. So the water day it's a leg day. It's not just a hip hinge day. He's got hinge and brackets. So there's an emphasis on the hip hinge. You'll see that in a sec. But really, you're getting a very well-rounded leg day. The only thing that I think is missing maybe slightly in this is some isolated abduction and adduction. But otherwise, this is very solid. You've got some emphasis on some ab work as well. And you basically start this day off with one solid hip hinge variation done with a lower rep range than some of the exercises on the upper day. So this is more like 3 to 5 or 6 to 8 reps. He specifies that 3 to 5 would be more so for the conventional deadlift. I would tend to agree. I wouldn't personally recommend doing 3 to 5 reps on an RDL, but certainly 6 to 8 if you've got some reps in reserve. I think that's pretty reasonable. There's some neck curl variations. There's choices of lunges or Bulgarian split squats. Then you've got some inverted rows, hamstring curls, and also some isolated quad work in there. So this is really solid. Then we've got the next day, that's the air day, that's the arm day. And again, there's just a ton of variety in here where you can have a lot of choices on different curling and tricep exercise variations. So my advice to you would be to pick a couple, right? Pick like one, maybe two curl variations, one, maybe two tricep variations, and just try to stick to those consistently. So despite all the options you have in this large list of arm exercises, try to pick a couple based on what feels good for you and what equipment you have access to, and just stick to them. Okay, I think you'll get better results than that than if you switch week to week, different ones. Now, that being said, all of these are very good, reasonable, and effective exercises. The rep range is there. There's a lot of 10 to 20, 10 to 15. It's higher reps than what you're doing with the heavy hip hinges on the previous day. And I think these are very reasonable rep ranges. I think I would agree with his prescription that, especially on curls, reps above 10, really focusing on the quality, slow eccentric, those tend to feel better. And again, the volume prescription here is pretty moderate. Cool. Then there's the last type of day, which, but keep in mind, before you do this day, there's a day of rest. So it's that upper day, the fire day, then the water day, which is the hinge focused leg day, then the arm day, which is the air day, then rest, then you finish off with this one, the earth/squat pattern day. And so this one, you're going to be biasing the quads just a little bit more, but still focusing on the hammies, the glutes, and the abs. Okay, so here you're going a bit heavier on front squats than obviously you would for leg extensions. You're obviously going a little bit heavier here on the front squats or squats than you would obviously on the leg extensions. But really, that's the key difference between these two leg days: emphasis on squats, going heavy, versus emphasis on hip hinges. Otherwise, they're very, very similar days, and I think they both are solid workouts. Then there's some quick notes at the bottom for you, but that's it. Overall, I think I really like this program. I really like this. I like that it's hybrid. I like that you can do some ring exercises, some barbell exercises, right? Like the overhead press, the Romanian deadlifts, the front squats. I think this is really solid stuff. I think there's enough variety to keep you interested as far as modalities. There's room for people to choose an equipment that feels better for their joints. So if they find rings feel really good for push-up variations, I think this is good to encourage them to experiment and focus on that. They don't have to do the bench press. But also, if you really like bench press, you can do bench press. So having that freedom and flexibility is a really good thing. Now, as far as the actual split being divided up, I think it's really smart. Having the 3 training days in a row is great. Then a rest day. I mean, rest days, guys, these are really, really important. And this reminds me of something I said. I did a lecture on how to make program splits a little while back. And in that video, I said, if you're going to do an upper-lower split, you may enjoy it more. You may find you'll stick to it more if you have a 5th day, especially if you use that 5th day to focus on like isolations, maybe core work, right? Just to shave off the length of time and the energy demand of each of those upper and lower workouts. So that's exactly what's being done here by having that arm day right before your rest day. I think that is an excellent choice. Now, I can't speak to this in too much depth because I haven't done this program myself, but overall, I would definitely give this, gold stamp of approval. Okay, I definitely would recommend trying this if you're looking for a hybrid calisthenics program, if you're looking to experiment with rings but not, entirely focus on them exclusively. Well, this could be a really good program for you. So go ahead and give it a try. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so this is the Sauron program, the rings, the precious rings, yes. Okay, let's jump right into it. This one has a very similar layout as far as the split. You go upper, then lower, then arms, just like the last one, then a rest day. But the only difference being the lower body day is just one type. There's not a shifting emphasis alternating between, heavy squat focus versus heavy hip hinge focus. These ones, you're just repeating the same twice. And as many days as it takes you, you're not going to be able to repeat these 4 days twice in 7 days. Obviously, it'll bleed over. So with this program, keep in mind, you're not going to be following a strict schedule that allows you to train the exact same type of session each Monday, each Tuesday, each Wednesday. But that's perfectly fine. You don't have to do that. You just need to be consistent in a program. This is one of the reasons why I encourage people not to obsess over having too rigid of a split and just overall focus on discipline, writing down workouts, pushing yourself hard, good technique, all that good stuff. I think he and I are on the same page. Okay, so first day, that's upper. And there's a lot of good variety in here between different push-up variations. You can see different pull-up variations, calf raises, also more push-up variations, some leg raises, curls, extensions. There's a lot of things you can do with rings. And, going back a couple of years, I had no idea how versatile rings were or how challenging they were because I didn't have a lot of experience with them. I've only experimented with them a little bit, but I can tell you guys, rings might look easy. They're not. They're hard. Bodyweight exercises are pretty challenging on their own, but rings make it very tough. The volume prescription seems to be pretty moderate, 3 to 4 sets, 2 to 4 sets. That's pretty good. There's a lot of emphasis on AMRAPs compared to the other one where you had more rep ranges, right? I think sometimes when you're focusing on barbells, it's more important to have reps in reserve for the sake of quality than if it's a calisthenic, right? Working with rings, your own body weight. It's going to be pretty easy to recover from those sets, even if you take it all the way to failure, perhaps even beyond failure, doing some partials. So having these AMRAPs as a rep prescription, I think that's very important for progression, to encourage people just to push themselves every single session. I think that's great. Now the lower body day, this one you've got some pistol squats or Bulgarian split squats, squats or jumping squats, some face pulls, rear delt flies, sit-ups or leg raises, sissy squats, hamstring curls, pull-ups. So that's great. I think that doing some extra pull-ups, as you've seen on Protein Man's channel, right, talks about doing pull-ups every day. I think that having a little bit higher frequency of that by having it on the leg day, that's perfectly reasonable. I'm currently doing vertical pulls 4 times per week, right? I'm doing lat pull down, chest to bar twice a week, and pull-ups twice per week. I think that it can be sustainable as long as you go out of your way to avoid biceps tendonitis, manage symptoms of that. If you go out of your way to avoid maybe some grip issues, right? Like golfer's elbow, things like that, I think it can work just fine. Now, overall, this is a very well-rounded workout. Oh boy, 4 to 6 sets of Bulgarian split squats. I wish you fellas luck. Okay, now moving on to the arm day. This is just having, again, some push-up and pull-up variations, some pelican curls, sphinx push-ups, which is basically like, the body weight equivalent of a skull crusher, sort of. And of course, rear delt flies and things like that. Very, very similar, rep prescription for the leg day, arm day, upper day. You're going to do a lot of AMRAPs. You need to push that progression. If you can get an extra half rep, get an extra half rep. If you can get an extra rep, get an extra rep. I think that's really solid as far as recommendations go. So again, on this program, I would say the exercise selection is a nice variety. Having choices is important. If you find pistol squats are a pain in the rear end to balance or your knees don't like them, hey, take advantage of the extra stability of doing some Bulgarian split squats. So there's a lot of examples like that in this program. I won't speak to it ad nauseum, but we'll just finish off just quickly covering some of these notes, and then I'll leave you guys on your merry way. So basically, his guidelines are to do the movements with a slow eccentric, and you really should emphasize going to failure, especially if it's isolation work. Okay, you really don't have any business not doing that. Now, I think he and I would agree that something like a conventional deadlift or a bench press or overhead press would be better served to have at least a rep or 2 in reserve, if not more, especially on the deadlift. You probably want to have more than that. But overall, that's very good. Then he goes on to describe cluster sets and things like that, so I'll let you guys read that for yourself. But basically, he finishes off with a list of ways you can progress, and I agree with most of these. These are good. The main ones that you'll want to focus on, in my opinion, A, increasing your reps, all right, especially within the rep range given, and G, adding weight. Those are the 2 most important ways you can push progression in exercises. Now, that being said, if you're doing the rings only program, increasing range of motion, slowing down the movement, those can be really good ways to get more challenge out of the same number of repetitions and make them a better quality. You could turn 10 ring pull-ups into a better 10 ring pull-ups, less sloppy, more range of motion, a pause at the top. Those are really meaningful progressions. So it just depends on the exercise you're doing, but overall focus mostly, okay guys, focus mostly on adding weight or adding reps. Those would be the best ones to focus on. Of course, you can always modify the leverages and things like that. And you want to be trying to improve your technique, though that'll happen naturally as you train novel exercises more, as long as you pay your dues, right? Actually focus on the movement. But that's it, guys. This is all. So if you're interested in these programs, go check them out on the Linktree link that is down below in the description. I'm probably going to be giving a quick overview on another program that he's coming out with. So we'll see about that. And as always, like, subscribe, comment. I'll see you guys in the next one.